The Royal Enfield Tripper. It's a nice touch, but to be honest, on my Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650, it's now completely redundant. My navigation, my dash cams front and rear, and even my blind spot detection are all covered by the far superior Aoocci BX system I have fitted to the bike. It's time to clear the clutter. This isn't just a classic tachometer, it's a high precision voltmeter and a programmable shift light warning indicator, all wrapped up in a premium stainless steel body. Here is my step-by-step guide on how to fit the Daytona Velona 9000 to the Super Meteor 650. Let's get into it. And why do I want a rev counter on my Super Meteor 650 in the first place? Well, to be honest, I didn't actually realise that I needed one until I bought the Interceptor 650, which comes with one as standard. So when I've been riding my bike, when I've been riding the Super Meteor 650, I've been leaving so much power on the table because I've always thought it was a low revved engine. And now I realise that peak power doesn't kick in until 5,650 RPM. That's when the peak torque kicks in, and peak power at 7,250 RPM. So I haven't been revving my engine that hard at all by ear, and it's quite crucial because the engine limiter kicks in at 7,500 RPM. So it's important to know a little bit what revs are on this bike to get maximum power. So I need this on the Meteor. I picked the tachometer up from Hitchcock's motorcycles in UK while I visited there a few months ago. I'll put a link to them in the description below and the part number, etc. They do post worldwide. And the good thing about buying from Hitchcock's motorcycles is that they also provide a bike specific instruction guide, all in colour, and also a bike specific wiring harness. So it's a simple plug and play. I'm losing the Tripper today. I don't want it on my bike anymore. But for those of you who want to keep it, they also provide a bracket so you can have the Royal Enfield Tripper and the tachometer next to each other. The Daytona instructions are a little bit complicated and they don't even follow the wires correctly. They say a white wire when it should be a yellow wire. The Hitchcock's motorcycle instructions very much more clearer, and like I say, it's just a simple plug and play. Let's have a look at these cables a minute. So first of all, for the power source, inside the headlight of the Super Meteor 650, there's an auxiliary socket, an auxiliary power socket that's got a blank on it. I think it's a red with a blank cover. I made a video maybe last year about fitting a handlebar USB to my Super Meteor 650. I've already used my auxiliary power cable. The good thing is, what Hitchcock supply, you plug it in and you've still got your auxiliary power cable available, because it takes the power for the Daytona from these two extra cables. So that is very smart. And what's also very smart is when we need to connect to the coil of the bike, again, we've got this pre-made wire for the yellow wire to connect straight to the Daytona. So it is purely plug and play. It shouldn't take us too long to fit this today, and I'm really looking forward to fitting it. Oh, and one more little piece of wire that they give you. This has got a resistor built in. You don't have to use it, but what in the instructions from Hitchcocks, they say, just in case you've got a little bit of a lag or a bit of a delay or a bit of fluctuation in the rev counter, this resistor will sort that out. But it depends on what model you've got. So I don't know if I'm going to fit this today or not. I will test it without it first and then test it with it in place. Okay, our coil is just underneath there. This is our new connecting block, so we're going to connect it like so. I'm going to take the opportunity now to use this clip to hold the cable. It's a 3 clip there. I'm just going to thread it through, just enough room for it to pass through, and then that's making it even more secure. There. Now it's just a case of connecting that in line with the coil, which is just under there, which is impossible to film. Okay, you can see the 2 coils under the tank. I've got one connector here and I've got one connector here. We're going to take the one on the right hand side of the bike, and it's just a case of pushing with the screwdriver this lug and kind of turning the screwdriver at the same time. It's certainly not easy. I'm laying on the floor to do this, but that lug is now passed. There we go. That plug is now disconnected. I'm going to pull that out with my fingers now. But I can't do that while I'm laying on the floor, right? So yeah, it's a lay on the floor job, lean up under the tank and take that clip off. Then it's just a case of fitting the inline wiring harness using the male and female connectors to the coil. So it's just a case of removing the 2 hex keys at the back. The tripper navigation will pull off. There is a connector on the back of the unit, a 6-pin, however it only uses 3 wires. And to release that, at the very bottom, as you pull the sheathing back, you can see it's got a, if I get out the sun, you can see it's got a clip, so you just push at the bottom back and that will release from the tripper. And if, like me, if you are removing the tripper, make sure you insulate that cable before you put it back into the headlamp. And all the connections for all of this are inside the headlamp. The Hitchcock's instructions are so clear, I'm not even going to show you that. Everything is done inside the headlight where it's waterproof afterwards. So I ideally want my bracket to go there. I've drilled a pilot hole. I'm just going to drill the right size hole now. So I've drilled my new hole there. I've packed it out with a couple of washers. I've got a bolt and a screw and a nut. And there, we're done. That is my fixing done. Here we go, here we go. See, there we go. I'm at 4,000 RPM. I'm not even touching the power of this bike. And that's what I learned with the Interceptor. I was so surprised not to see the rev counter ever hitting maximum RPM. So now I know I've not been using the power fully on this bike. So now we're going to try and see if we can red line it. I've set the limiter, the change gear indicator, to 7,000 RPM, I think, just so I can get it working. I'd never really rev the engine that high. I never thought you had to be honest. So it's a learning curve. The Interceptor has taught me about my Meteor 650. I'll just take that off now. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? That's a lot clearer. Okay, let's see if we can hit our 7,000 RPM and get the red light to come on. Wow, that's a different bike. A different bike. Oh. I would never second gear it to 7,000 RPM before, and then the red light comes on to tell you just before the limiter kicks in to change gear. So yeah, that's very, very different for me. So the reason I put a rev counter tachometer on the bike today. So we do have different colour modes. I choose the blue because it matches my Aoocci, it matches my mileometer, speedometer, but you can change colours. We've got a nice sexy orange there, a white light blue, and a darker blue. I like this one. What do you think? Let me know. So there we have it. It's bye-bye to the Tripod and hello to the new tachometer. Personally, I know I'm going to get a lot more use out of this. Just a heads up for those of you on the other models, this kit is also available to fit the Shotgun 650 and I'd assume the new Classic and the Bullet 650s as well. If you prefer a different look, there's a chrome ring version available, plus options to fit the Meteor 350. But I want to hear from you. Is a rev counter something you consider fitting to your bike, or are you actually perfectly happy sticking with the Tripper? Let me know in the comments please. As always, thanks so much for watching. I've got some handlebar riser content coming your way very soon, so stay tuned. Until the next time, ride safe.